Madam President, I come to the floor this afternoon to thank my colleagues who have signed on to a letter to the NFL asking that they change the name of the Washington football team. I'd also like to thank Leader Reid for his leadership on this issue and trying to accentuate the care and concern that he has for 22 tribes in the state of Nevada and the fact that their interest in seeing the dignity and respect of those tribes with the name change as well. I also come to the floor and ask my colleagues who have not signed on to that letter to sign on to a letter asking the NFL to take action as aggressively as the NBA took action and to move on this issue. I'll be sending a letter to each of my colleagues asking them to either sign on to this letter or to write their own letter, as one of our colleagues did, because I'm convinced that if each member of this body speaks on this issue and is forceful in their resolve, that we can help initiate change. Madam President, I know that not everybody in America may understand why this is so important. And, having personally worked with 29 tribes in the state of Washington and for a short period of time served as the chair of the Senate Indian Affairs Committee, but having been a member of that my entire time in the United States Senate, I can tell you that this may not even be the top issue in Indian country. We certainly have understaffed hospitals, challenging school situations, decaying infrastructure, challenges and concerns about fishing rights, whether they're the challenges that ocean acidification has to our fishing ability in the Pacific Northwest, or whether it's in Alaska, making sure that Alaska natives who are on subsistence fishing be able to continue to do what they do. There are many, many issues in what we refer to as Indian country that I would say are about the health and safety and welfare of those individuals. Yet, this issue is a reminder to all of us that intolerance in our communities is a problem. We're here to say that we respect these tribal entities that have requested this name change. We are saying that we have a trust responsibility with these organizations and these individual tribes. So when the National Congress of American Indians, an organization that represents millions of Americans with Native American backgrounds, and when they call for a change, the fact that we ignore that is a disrespect to those tribal entities. So there are many organizations across the United States of America who have joined this battle as well. The NAACP, the Anti-Defamation League, the United Latin American Citizens, the New York State Assembly, the National Congress of American Indians, the D.C. City Council, the Prince George County Council, I believe that is. Even the President in the United States has spoken out on this issue. So what is it going to take to get the name of this team changed? I say to my colleagues that even the Patent Office, a federal agency with determining whether a word can be protected in commerce, has said that this term is a derogatory slang and is disparaging to Native Americans. So we believe that Commissioner Cadell should act, that he needs to do what the NBA did and make sure that one of their owners puts an end to the wrong use of a football term and to join the right side of history. We're not going to give up this battle. Similarly, like organizations who have a website on changethemascot.org, which is a great 2 to 3 minute video of why Native Americans care so much about this issue. We need to continue to the respect and dignity of these individuals. And it's time to update the relationship. When I look at yesterday at the White House, an unbelievable ceremony, of course, I'm very proud of, the welcoming of the champion World Seahawk football team. And they're walking into the White House where many Native Americans from the state of Washington, all decked out in Seahawk gear. I don't know if that was really the protocol for the White House. And I'm sure the White House was overcome by even though they said nobody take pictures, but telling a crowd from Seattle not to use digital devices was pretty hard to accomplish. But there they were, Native Americans from our state who are partners with the Seattle Seahawks. They are advertising partners, they're suite owners, they advertise and participate together. The logo of the Seahawks was designed by a Native American. That is the relationship of the NFL and Native Americans today in the Pacific Northwest. So juxtapose to here in the Washington, D.C. area, where many people have spoken out, and yet the owner remains in opposition of changing a name that it's been clear to him is found to be racially offensive to Native Americans. So we're here today to ask our colleagues on the other side of the aisle to join us because it was hard to unite our side, but I know with a few of their voices, we can move this issue further. And why is tolerance so important? Well, one individual said, quote, "Tolerance, intercultural dialogue, and respect for diversity are more essential than ever in a world where people are becoming more and more closely interconnected," end quote. That happened to be Kofi Annan, the Secretary General of the United Nations. And while that is a global view of what the challenges we face, we need to practice that in reality here. That's why I was so happy that we passed the Violence Against Women Act with a provision in it, making sure that women in Indian country would also be protected. And we have to ask ourselves, why did it take us so long to get that provision? Well, even the UN Special Envoy on Indigenous Rights of people around the world, James Anaya, also said that the NFL should change, basically that it's a hurtful reminder and represents a long history of mistreatment in the United States of America. He cited the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. Quote, "They use stereotypes to obscure the understanding and reality of Native Americans today and instead help to keep alive a racially discriminatory attitude," end quote. So, Madam President, even the UN, even the world community is calling on this community here to deal with this issue, and we should act. So I hope my colleagues will help us in this effort to get the NFL to do the right thing. I thank the President. I yield the floor.